Well, we're at Fratton Park tonight for the Barclays Premiership match between Portsmouth and in-form Wigan, second in the Premiership. We are interactive, of course, this evening. You can use your red button to select exactly what you want to see and do from whichever angle. Sky's digital viewers, just press the red button on your remote control. The first player, Cam, is Jason Roberts, who's back in the Wigan side after a couple of games absent through injury. Can they continue this amazing run of form? Let's find out with Tony Gale and Ian Dark.
And it's a full-strength Wigan side. Jason Roberts actually only started twice on a loan spell at Portsmouth on this ground, and he scored 3 goals in those 2 games, 2 in a League Cup tie, once against Everton in a home defeat. And Ariane Dezeu, who of course was a regular feature. In fact, the last time Portsmouth won on this ground, he actually was among the scorers in a 4-1 win over Southampton back in April. And there's the man whose goal was all over your TV screens last weekend, that 40-yard special, one of 2 scored by Matt Taylor in Portsmouth's important and impressive 4-1 win at Sunderland. Is that a turning point, I wonder, for the club this season? Well, is it, Tony, do you think?
It was such an important result last week, wasn't it? You know, it was a tough fixture. Everybody was talking about it as a 6-pointer, but they responded in the right way. Left out Laurent Robert, which was a little bit of a surprise when you're going for a result, but it worked out well. Gave that boy there a little bit more freedom, Matt Taylor, and it was a wonderful goal on the half volley. Struck across the ball, outside of his foot, and really put the keeper Davis off his line, and was a wonderful, wonderful strike.
Laurent Robert, this time happy to be on the bench. Well, sort of, anyway. I don't think he was ever going to get his place back in the starting lineup, but the word from the Portsmouth camp is that he's trained well this week, and he may feel, if he comes on, that he owes the club a performance. Only 1 goal so far since he moved from Newcastle on loan. Mark Clattenburg is the referee for this one tonight, making a good name for himself as a Premiership official. Bonfire night, perhaps apt that we're covering the side which has put a stick of dynamite under the Premiership this season, Wigan Athletic. Are they going to be able to continue the run? They had a late winner, remember, last week against Fulham in a game where they were under a fair bit of pressure in the first half. Pascal Chimbonda coming up with that headed winner in stoppage time. And Portsmouth, good winners, of course, last time out at Sunderland, but they want to give their home fans something to cheer about. They've been disappointing at Fratton Park so far. 2 defeats, 3 draws, and last time out here, they played electrically for half an hour against Charlton and then blew it.
Yeah, they were superb. I think they had a couple of chances maybe to go 2 up, and if they had done, they'd have probably won the game. They've got to force the pace today. It's going to be difficult for them, Portsmouth, but yeah, the crowd already started off rather noisily. They've got to get behind their team. Such an important result for both teams today. Everybody expecting Wigan to trip up along their way. And all these fans here expecting their team to get out of trouble.
Andrew Griffin with the throw. A new role for him in one of Alain Perrin's many formations as a right-sided midfielder in a kind of 3-4-2-1 formation, which might be 3-4-3 on occasions.
Yeah, basically Silva's on his own up front, and he's going to try and occupy those 2 centre-backs, Honcho and Dezeu. And in behind him, Taylor, I think, just trying to support as he scored the goal last week, and O'Neill. Probably their 2 most creative players, and obviously they want to get Taylor having shots and O'Neill, but Silva importantly drives those defenders deep to create the space in midfield for Taylor and O'Neill to operate.
Stéphane Honcho, a reborn player this season. Here's McCulloch back in the side after suspension, the Scottish international, who was so very impressive in their promotion season. The usual rumbustious Fratton atmosphere. Linvoy Primus back in the side last week and keeping his place today. Here's Prisco, who now is deployed on the left of a 3 at the back.
Left of the 3, and he's essentially right-sided, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes today, particularly when he's in possession. Stefanovic in the middle, he's the natural left footer of the 3. I think they're banking on his experience more than anything else, just to balance it off in there with the 3 of them.
This is Jimmy Bullard. Wide towards Baines, it isn't going to reach him though. O'Neill for Portsmouth with the little back heel. Griffin almost getting himself in a bit of bother. Primus was strong enough. Now here's Vukic, the Serbian midfield player, finding Vignal on this side.
Well, that was a shame because he had 20-30 yards to drive on there, Vignal. No need to pass it. If they can get that natural width with this system that you were talking about, Ian, it's important that they drive forward on either side, both Griffin and Vignal.
Aimed towards Henri Camara, who scored here on his last visit for Southampton in that 4-1 defeat I was mentioning. Cracking goal it was too.
He was great last week, wasn't he, Camara? Really troubled Fulham central defenders and gave him a Bocanegra and Goma and gave him an afternoon of, a torrid afternoon. Really chases everything down. Sometimes lacks a little bit of quality in front of goal. It really is a right workhorse, and with Roberts to join him up front today, those central defenders are going to have a handful.
Well, they've got real pace in attack, Wigan. They're motivated, they're organised, and they play with a good amount of skill as well. Dezeo's first touch there, mixing with Dario Silva. Griffin inside for O'Neill, who's now a fixture in this Portsmouth side, which he wasn't in the Harry Redknapp era at the club. He was kind of in and out, got the odd chance, went out on loan a couple of times. O'Neill to Dario Silva, the striker who scored 2 in 2 games after going 19 games for his old club Seville, and this one without a goal.
That was a fine goal in the game we covered against Charlton down here, Ian, when they went ahead. He got into one ball over the top and he really finished with some aplomb from that right-hand side right into the far corner. I want him today. I think it's important that he drives those centre-backs backwards, like I was saying. Really, they try and get down the side of them with his pace. Charles Deseo would like to defend deeply. If he can get down the sides of them, I'm sure he can exploit the space.
This is Baines. About half the outfield players out here were playing for this club when they were in the 3rd tier of English football, which is a remarkable rise, as of course is Wigan's entire story. This was a club which made 34 unsuccessful applications to join the Football League before they got in. And 28 years ago, they were playing Matlock Town in the Northern Premier League. Here they are, 2nd in the Premiership. Stefanovic. Away by Chimbonda. Taylor for Portsmouth to Vukic, who opened his account for the club last week with the equaliser at Sunderland, stayed on his feet well. Referee played the advantage rule, but then pulls it back.
Well, it's interesting, Ian. I think Portsmouth last week playing away from home, those two just supporting the striker, O'Neill and Taylor, that suited them. Today, I think they've got to push a little bit further forward, so it gives their other two midfield players targets to hit into feet. Round about there, in and around that area. Not just the one target of Silva.
Here is Dario Silva. Taylor's waiting in the middle, pulled back into the danger zone, away by Stefan Oncho, who didn't get a single game for Liverpool last season in the Premiership. Silva, now Griffin, O'Neill, Lamana Luar, incidentally, having recovered from malaria, only began light training about 10 days ago, stepped it up a bit this week, and good enough, say the club, to take his place on the bench. I expect, Tony, they're looking maybe for a bright 20 minutes or something from him late on if needed.
Well, there's a great couple of options, isn't there? There's Luar just there, and behind him, Laurent Robert. If things are not going quite right, or they want to try and break Wigan down, there's two great options on the bench.
This is Prisco, who's been ever present since he arrived from playing in Belgium. So sloppy ball from him there, mind you. And similarly from Damien Francis, and puts his hands up to apologise to his teammates. Wigan have won 3 of their 4 away matches so far at West Brom, Everton and Aston Villa. They've won their last 5 games altogether as well, and 7 of the last 8. Silva using his pace to get in behind Oncho. Here he did well there, feeds it inside. Here's Taylor for Portsmouth, and Ariane Dezeu, his old teammate, with the challenge.
Well, there's that first burst of pace that we've been looking for. Silva getting down the line and beating Oncho after Oncho had a bit of a start, but there's his partner in defence just cleaning up the mess. Dezeu with a fine tackle.
Taylor trying to pick up the run of Vukic, no problem for that Wigan defence, the best defence in the Premiership, as you've been hearing, with just the 5 conceded all season. In fact, this goalkeeper, John Phelan, only Bolton's Radi Jaidi has beaten him since he came into the team. It's all fairy tale stuff, isn't it? And I'm sure even the Wigan fans are thinking, well, it's going to have to end somewhere. Hughes with the header. Bullard. Oncho instructs his goalkeeper to come and get that, but Wigan got themselves in a bit of a mess there.
Yeah, they were playing too slowly, weren't they? Honcho a straight ball into Bullard. Bullard just dallied on it a bit, and then in the end, Filan's had to clear it up.
Paul Jewell knows that Wigan have a horrendously difficult run coming up. Arsenal, Spurs at home, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United away, and those last 3 fixtures all away from home in the space of 11 days in December.
That's why it was very important to get a good start, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen what a great start it would have been with those points in the bag already. Already they've got a great cushion.
Portsmouth too, with a difficult fixture list coming up of Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United and Spurs. Damien Francis here for Wigan. Attacking midfield player, of course, who likes to get forward and score the odd goal. He got a few for Norwich last year, just the one so far for Wigan. Here's Taylor on the chase, finding O'Neill, and Wigan have to give away the throw.
Well, Baines did very well there. He came right across the pitch to get on the cover.
Francis getting it away. Vignal. Oh, up goes Silva, wins the header, and he goes over the bar. That would have been a remarkable goal. He's not a big man. Tremendous spring, and he could have embarrassed John Filan there.
And that would have been embarrassing. Deseu left it. He thought Filan had it. There must have been a call. Up gets Silva. Great spring. Filan's nowhere near it. But having got there, maybe he should have scored. I don't think he thought he was going to get there anyway. Maybe it was just a token jump. But having got there, maybe that should have been one up. And John Filan would have been even more embarrassed.
Very nearly 3 in 3 games. By the way, we've confirmation of a game which was running a little bit late in the Premiership today, and West Ham United have beaten West Bromwich Albion by 1-0. Teddy Sheringham with the winner in that one. West Ham go 8th in the table. West Brom still down towards the bottom, of course. Griffin playing long, Silva looking to get in behind between those two experienced central defenders that have served Wigan so well so far. Chimbonda has been a real find. The right back who arrived from Bastia in France. In fact, he was relegated 3 times in his career in French football, Chimbonda. Francis looking to pick up Bullard's run. Vignal didn't really clear it, and the curling effort from Roberts easy enough for Ashdown.
Well, it was easy pickings. It was on his weaker side, Jason Robertson came in for a left footer, but that was a nice little sighter for Ashdown, wasn't it? Really is congested in midfield, particularly with this system that Portsmouth are employing, and very difficult for Wigan to build up through the middle of the park. At the moment, everything they're doing is going long into the strikers.
Ashdown's prodigious kick. Deseu winning the header. Got a good reception from the Portsmouth supporters and responded with a little wave himself, Deseu, when he came out. Vignal, a bit of a misunderstanding between him and Vukic over on that side.
Finding it a little bit difficult at the moment, Portsmouth, to hit another target other than Silva. As I said, O'Neill, Taylor maybe just push that little bit further forward so they're receiving their balls with their back to goal rather than trying to just play into one striker. At the end of it, if it does get into Silva, there has to be someone in support, and at the moment the 4 in the middle of the midfield are just a little bit deep from Silva.
Camera trying to link up with Bullard over on that side. Jimmy Bullard making a club record 120th consecutive league start for the club. He hasn't missed a league game in nearly 3 years. Damien Francis in a bit of space. Kavanagh has been an important signing for Wigan, the number 11 in midfield. Chimbonda on towards Camera. Now Kavanagh again. Henri Camera. Bullard in towards Roberts, who was looking to spin in behind. It was a clever piece of build-up play by Wigan.
Their best passage of play yet, that's good. And that's what they'll want to do, get it into their strikers in and around the area.
Wigan have started to maybe prove to 1 or 2 people that they may be something more than early season wonders. As Paul Jewell was saying on earlier on today, you don't get results in this division by freaks or luck. To be well organised and the players properly deployed and motivated and selected, of course, and all that's worked out brilliantly so far for Wigan Athletic. 7 wins, 1 draw, just 2 defeats.
I must say that teams have taken them a little bit lightly, but and again, I think every one of their wins has been fully deserved. They've not just nicked games, they've actually gone and won them. Last week they were dominated in the first half by Fulham, but he made a couple of changes, Julie, at half-time. They went on to win the game, and win the game convincingly in the second half.
And they were without Jason Roberts, of course, and had to change the system a little bit last week, Wigan. He's back today in back to the old 4-4-2. Bullard under pressure from Vignal, who did well there. Here's Vukic trying to influence things. A skillful player, a Serbian international in there, playmaking sort. Roberts just pulling into a bit of space, looking to pick up Camera, who's offside here.
That was interesting. Roberts just dropping a little bit deeper. The centre-back's not going in on him. 3 marking 2. No one took the responsibility again to mark. Camera did go a fraction early and was offside as Roberts tried to play him in.
There's Alain Perrin, who was much encouraged by last week's 4-goal second-half display at Sunderland. Here's Chimbonda. Portsmouth will be a little concerned about the pace of Roberts and Camera and anxious that they don't make runs in behind that back 3. Taylor driving it into Gary O'Neill here. Need to pick up Vukic's run, but Oncho in that cool, composed way of his had read it all.
Well, he did read that one well. Gary O'Neill just tried to play someone in, and he just read it Oncho and just stayed and held his position. Alain Perrin's just been down on the touchline, just telling his wing backs to stay wide. Vignal and Griffin don't come infield, so that if we can, you know, switch the play with a few diagonal balls, then you'll be in plenty of space. He's telling them to stay wide and don't congest it up too much in there for the other midfield players, because he's looking awfully overloaded in there at the moment.
Just that one big chance for Portsmouth when Dario Silva's header sailed over a stranded John Filan, but over the bar as well. And for Sky Digital viewers, Dario Silva is now the subject of player cam, the Uruguayan striker. They're involved, by the way, in a World Cup playoff next week at home to Australia, and then 4 days later away to Australia. You wouldn't mind his air miles, would you? Circumnavigation of the globe by Dario Silva coming up.
Really felt. Perrin's just coming down on his touchline again. Look, he's telling Griffin he really wants him wide, and Griffin's saying, I want to tuck in. He's saying, I don't want you tucking in. Stay out here and stay wide. I don't think that is a thing that Griffin is totally used to, being a right wide player. But he's telling him, I want you right out on this touchline. When we're defending, come in, or when we get in that ball, get right on this touchline and get your boots right, if you like.
And now he's got a marking job to do, of course, on McCulloch, which is part of his duties too. Here is Griffin to Vukic. Desea was very, very quickly in on him. He's probably been identified as somebody who could cause this usually watertight defence some problems. Chimbonda brought down by Vukic.
So that was a great tackle by Desea on Vukic, and Vukic took a little bit of retribution there, but Vukic, as he was on the half-turn, received it, and Desea was in on him like a shot. Great crunching challenge. Next time Vukic will just have a little eye out when he's receiving the ball with his back to play, because that was a great challenge from Desea.
Oncho's free kick for Wigan. Towards McCulloch, who's good in the air. Saw that once or twice last season when he scored 14 goals, the Wigan number 10. Griffin does well, really, from that confined space in the corner. Silva trying to hold it up. Baines, pacey run from the left back. Up towards Roberts, back into Baines again, and Roberts caught late. Free kick to Wigan. Stefanovic's challenge.
It was well played by Baines. He drove in between those defenders. Roberts tried to flick it round the corner, and I don't think Stefanovic can have any complaints about that one. That was a clear foul for me. Well, it was Kavanagh who delivered that great ball for Chimbonda to score in the last minute last week. Similar sort of place, maybe it was a little bit more central, but he's a great deliverer of a free kick.
Deseu's come forward from the back as well, in towards the danger zone. No Wigan player able to get the vital little touch on it.
It's good defending by Portsmouth. They kept Wigan out, gave Ashdown plenty of room and plenty of time to see the ball coming in. Very important you don't get driven too deep in those situations.
Now Joe Jordan's out in the technical area having a little word as well with Andy Griffin. Taylor. Now Vignal. Hoisted high towards Dario Silva. We've already seen what he can do in the air. He scored with the header last week. That was a diving low one, mind you.
I think he must have an earache, Andy Griffin, at the moment. First he's had Perrin down there. Maybe he didn't understand him. And then he's got Joe Scott's dialect to understand. But I think the emphasis is on those wing-backs really to stay wide. They can't stay wide enough as far as Perrin and Jordan are concerned.
And they've got the corner kick here. Wigan, that came off Stefanovic last.
Well, running down lost causes again. We saw it last week with Camera and Roberts. Yeah, it is a corner. And it's something out of nothing that those two will gain all the time. They really work their socks off.
A few aerial threats in there as well, but they won't achieve anything like that. They were straight to Vignal, and this has fallen quite nicely for Dario Silva here. He's only got Vukic for support at the moment, although here comes Matt Taylor arriving on this side, but he's overrun it. But he's going to get another bite here, is he? This time it's a Portsmouth corner.
Well, that's end-to-end stuff. In about 10 seconds, Matt Taylor just had a poor first touch there, because I think he was maybe setting his sights on something like he did against Sunderland last week. Similar position, ball was rolling on the floor though this time, but it was a poor first touch, wasn't it?
O'Neill with the corner kick. Easy meet for John Filan, the 35-year-old Australian goalkeeper, who's no doubt had a few Ashes wind-ups from his teammates in the last couple of months. Primus with the header away. He's had a knee injury for much of the season, been recovering from that back last week, Primus. Here's Bullard. Oncho for the side placed second, an undreamt of second in the Premiership, Wigan Athletic. Bullard. Chimbonda. Richard Hughes foraging away well over there for Portsmouth. It's all quite tight and tense early on here.
Yeah, I think it's that midfield area in particular where it's really hard to try and knock it around and move, play and move. It's so congested in there. Both teams like to play shorter passing, but at the moment it's very, very difficult. Bullard on one side is just pulling in for Wigan, making up a 3. And of course you've got 4 central midfield players in there for Portsmouth, so 7 players in that central midfield area. It's really congested and so hard to put your foot on the ball on occasions like this. You can see there, Gary O'Neill rather hurried, gives away a handball. So many players in and around the ball.
Interesting to see what tactical variations may come up later if it stays like this and if the game gets a little more stretched. Oncho's diagonal ball is up towards McCulloch, who was adjudged to have fouled Griffin in mid-air.
Well, it's scrappy stuff at the moment. Both teams really can't get their game going, and it's Pompey really who have to force the place, being really the home side. But I think Paul Jewell, although there was one chance for Silva when the header went over the bar, will be quite happy. 0-0 at this stage, away from home, nearly 27 minutes into the game. He'll be quite happy.
Certainly not the 100-mile-an-hour intensity that Portsmouth produced in the opening half an hour of their last game here. That's a good ball in towards Henri Camara here. And just overrunning it, but it was a very, very good Wigan move, that one.
That was a great pass from Kavanagh. He played some wonderful balls last week against Fulham, just dropped some dead weight over the top of defenders. Camara could have took him in his stride with that first touch, he'd have been in on goal, because that was a lovely ball chipped over his left foot on the diagonal, which took all three central defenders out of the game.
Kavanagh, a player who did play in the Premiership before Wigan's promotion. He was with Middlesbrough, you might remember, in the early days of the competition. Now Vignal, this looks more promising. Dario Silva was in there, and a great challenge from Baines there to snuff out the danger.
That's good full-back play coming round on the cover again. Baines, this time in his area. Last time it was about 25-30 yards out from goal, but that one really did stop a goal, because Silva was nearly onto that one.
Gary O'Neill with the Portsmouth corner kick. Stefanovic nearly getting his head to that. There was just a hint of a chance for him. And Wigan are going to get the free kick, rather unnecessarily given away there by Portsmouth in that area. Just a little talking to for last week's hero, Matt Taylor, in another player with a redesigned role in the Portsmouth promotion side. He was a left wing back in a 3-5-2 system when Paul Merson was pulling the strings around here. Now as an attacking central midfielder, pushing on. Stefanovic, difficult one for him, and it's gone for a Wigan corner kick. There've been a lot of corners at both ends.
Delivery's not quite been right yet. Not quite right for the attackers to attack that ball. Maybe this time it will be better.
Bullard, McCulloch couldn't quite reach it, and Vignal brings it away. How quick can Portsmouth be with the counter? Vignal was just crowded out in the end.
Well, he wanted all day on that one, Vignal. He was breaking out of defence. Silva had come out to this near side and broke off the central defenders. He just needed to put it into the space, really. The last thing you want to do is be caught in possession with 4 or 5 players around you.
Alain Perrin looking a little frustrated that his side are not creating too much at home so far. But Wigan, as usual, very, very well organised.
Very well organised, but, you know, Perrin, I think this system worked away from home particularly well. I'm not so sure at home, when you have to force the pace, if it's the correct system to be playing. But he has got those options on the bench later on, even if he wants to stay with these, or this system, to put Robert out wide, or Matt Taylor out wide. He's got Loire to bring on, playing a midfield deeper area, just coming on and helping the striker, or to play right up front. So there's options there, but at the moment it's not working.
Possession having to be quarried on this side, and it's Portsmouth who get it in the end. Vukic. Bit of space out here for Vignal, though he is forced very, very wide and can't even keep it in the end.
Well, they won the ball very well, and they were on the break again, but there was no striker to go into. Silva had come out wide, and as soon as the ball was won, Vukic really had no one to play into, but that was better pressure on the ball, similar to the pressure they had against Charlton in that first half hour.
Now then, Wigan might be able to break here. Jason Roberts, they're going to get the free kick for that. I think Alain Perrin has wanted to play 4-4-2 at home, but he feels that Mbasuma, his Zambian striker, is not ready yet. Todorov's still coming back from an injury as well, and of course Loire's had malaria, so the options have been slightly limited. Primus, did that flick his head on the way through? It looked like it. Wigan corner kick.
There's a lack of communication between Linvoy Primus and Griffin there. That's a needless corner given away, because Griffin could have just come onto that one and cleared his lines.
Bullard, and that's very well claimed indeed by Jamie Ashdown, the goalkeeper who's replaced Sander Westerveld this season, looking for an instant break to Dario Silva. Kavanagh again, who really can see a pass. That's come off the back of Priska and fallen nicely for the keeper.
You're right in what you say about him can see a pass, but he can drop it dead weight as well. When you've got two strikers as quick as Cameron Roberts and you can drop balls dead weight over the back of defences, well, that's gold dust.
Free kick, Zayu shakes his head, and this is where Portsmouth might just wish they had Laurent Robert on the pitch.
Well, he got suckered into that one, didn't he, the experienced Zayu? Got no chance of winning it, let the striker have it. He's facing away from goal. Instead, he's gave away a free kick in a dangerous position.
He's more than interested in this situation, Laurent Robert. We may see him later on. Gary O'Neill is the man who's getting the job here. Here is O'Neill, and the ball does its job. Chip back in again, interestingly, Chimbonda gets it away for Wigan Athletic.
Not the best of free kicks from Gary O'Neill. Not a bad second ball as he just tried to dink it over the top of the defence, but we saw Robert last time actually, didn't we, Ian? Against Charlton here. He didn't really have much success with his free kicks that day. He can be real hit and miss, can't he, Robert, when he's playing.
You just wonder after the shenanigans of last week whether it's written in the stars that maybe he is going to play some part here tonight, later on. Soft on the way of it, isn't it?
Well, it's looking like they're going to need something like him to unlock this defence, that's for sure. Because at the moment, just the one chance for Silva. Not enough really after 34 minutes.
They do have Robert and Luar on the bench, Portsmouth. This is Vignal. Vignal. Vukic, but Oncho is there again. He's not the quickest, but he does read the game so well, as he did for so long alongside Sami Hyypiä at Liverpool.
You can't buy experience, Ian. That's what Oncho has got in abundance, and his starting position is so often correct, and you know, tries not to get into chases, obviously, because he's going to lose the chase because he's not the quickest. But I think he's thinking all the time, thinking, where's that ball going to go? How can I get a start on the forward up against me? And he really is a thinking man's defender.
He did make a few appearances at Celtic last year, but he's kind of been a forgotten player until re-emerging in the Premiership this season, the Swiss international. Chimbonda. So far, the fireworks outside the ground, I think it's fair to say. Tense kind of chess match tactically going on with this congested midfield that Tony's been telling you about. There's the willing Chimbonda. Challenge was by Brian Priska, the Danish international. Camera. It's bounced nicely. Bullard across the face of goal. McCulloch, and an important block by Griffin, because that looked to be on its way. Now the corner for Wigan.
That was a good strike from McCulloch because he controls it. He's going away from goal and turns and gets his shot. Gets his shot in an instant. And I think you just have to look and say Griffin did very well to close him down and get the blocking.
Bullard. Now then, counters on if they can get it right. Vignal, Silva's the target. He was in space on this right-hand side. He's now been found. That was a good ball from Vignal. Dario Silva, there's not a lot of room there. Oh, and Taylor, firecracker, but a long way wide.
It was a good ball from Vignal in the end, but I think he was 3 or 4 seconds too late. Look, just delays. If that goes earlier, there's a clearer run for Silva, but in the end, he's blocked out and it comes to Taylor, and he's kind of pulling out of the shot because he doesn't want to go through with it and really get a crack on the foot in his follow-through.
Hughes winning the header, McCulloch picking it up. Primus won't find Gary O'Neill. Wigan pressing the ball well and winning it too with McCulloch. Now Camera, Roberts waiting in the middle. Oh, and Bullard's there too for Wigan. Portsmouth having trouble clearing their lines here. Camera looking to get in behind on this side. Offside flag up. Well, the player cam for Sky Digital viewers switching to a man at the centre of the story tonight, the former Portsmouth player Ariane Dezeu, now of course very much of Wigan Athletic for the second time in his career, it should be said. Bullard, miscue by Priska, but Stefanovic is there, the Portsmouth skipper. Silva again ploughing this lone furrow up front and looking for support arriving behind him. Portsmouth may want to have something a little bit more attacking by way of a formation if it carries on like this. Kavanagh's nicked the ball away here.
I think they'll have to change it come half-time, Ian. Portsmouth, I know they haven't got many options on the bench, as you said, with the strikers being injured and coming back, but they will have to change something.
Coming up, don't forget, tomorrow, the big one from Old Trafford. Manchester United against Chelsea. Don't miss that. Sky Sports 1 on the air from 3 o'clock with all the pre-match news and then the whole game, of course. Andy Griffin. Little flick on towards Vukic was by O'Neill, but Baines, nice quick feet from him, the left back who's made the long journey up the leagues with Wigan Athletic.
Done well there, Leighton Baines. He had nowhere to go, invited the tackle and got it. I don't think there'll be a yellow card for Griffin, but you can see he's got nowhere to go. Surrounded by Pompey players. In the end, he tries to get the foul and he does get it.
Griffin, a player who actually has appeared in an FA Cup final for Newcastle United against Manchester United back in 1999. Portsmouth themselves haven't been in an FA Cup final since 1939. Kavanagh. Chimbonda looking for 2 goals in the space of a few days. And then the Portsmouth fans who've been a little bit quiet by their usual standards, trying to get their side going here. If anything, Wigan have done rather more of the pressing. That's another good-looking ball from Kavanagh. Chimbonda's in there again. Roberts and McCulloch waiting in the middle. It was an important piece of defensive work, and Wigan get the corner kick.
Again, it's another little dink ball over the top that doesn't run out of play. How many times do you see midfielders trying to dink balls over the top and they go straight out for a goal kick? But he does play them with great pace, Kavanagh.
Bullard. McCulloch. Looking to get the cross in, and Portsmouth having to concede yet another corner at that Fratton end of the ground where their most passionate supporters tend to be gathered.
These deliveries have been disappointing so far. Jimmy Bullard, I think, has got to miss that front man. Got to miss that front man on the near post.
Wigan's 6th corner. More elevation on this one, but well defended by Priska. And Taylor with a push there, which looked, I must say, pretty unnecessary with the ball running out of play, and he's going to give Wigan a free kick here.
Well, it is a silly push, isn't it? He's in the back. You're saying shoulder to shoulder, but you can't shoulder someone in the back. No doubt for me, that's a foul.
Can Wigan make one of these set pieces pay for them? Again, Deseu has come forward. Again, it's Bullard with the delivery, and again, the defending work is good enough. This time by Griffin with a clever little back header out of harm's way. Damien Francis has scored when Norwich came here last year and got a 1-1 draw, even though they were down to 10 men. Kavanagh, the most influential player on the pitch for me in this first half.
Yeah, the one player who looks like he can pass it and see that pass for his strikers for me in that very, very congested area in the middle of the park, but he stood out for me. I think Pompey's trouble has got to be that their width has got to be higher up the park. They're playing 3 and 4 in the middle, as we were saying, and the wide players are defenders, Vignal and Griffin. If they want to get the width, they maybe go to a 4 at the back and go 4-3-3 if they have only got one fit striker, as you've been saying, Ian. So maybe play 4-3-3 and get it further up the park, the width, because at the moment the width is coming from very deep and it's easy to defend against.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether Alain Perrin does redevise the strategy a little at half-time. Because from an attacking sense, it hasn't really worked for Portsmouth in this first half. Kavanagh again, looking to pick up Henri Camara's run. Griffin and handball. Portsmouth might be quite happy to get through to half-time and have another look at things. This is Chimbonda. McCulloch flicks it on. Oh, and then Roberts couldn't find the target, but it was certainly an opportunity.
Well, he was always stretching. He couldn't quite get to the pitch of the ball to make it a full half volley. Eventually breaks to him here. Look, and it's on the way up. He can't get it down. Well, he gets the ball down, but he can't get there in time. Look, ball's coming up, and that's why he pulls it wide. He can't quite reach it on the half volley.
Scored 4 times against Portsmouth in his time with West Bromwich Albion, did Jason Roberts. Vignal. Throw it was, in fact. Taken quickly. And Vignal with a hopeful-looking ball. No problems for Wigan, who haven't really been put under any pressure at all in this first half.
Well, there you saw Vignal. He's 30 or 40 yards out. Now, if those wing-backs are further up the pitch, it's a different proposition. But your wing-backs today, Vignal, Griffin, are full-backs, essentially. And if you are to play offensively at home, you need some width with some real wingers. And maybe it may make a change to a 4, so he can bring the likes of Laurent Robert on and get him further up the pitch to get those crosses in.
Baines crashed into the Sky microphone. That was the clump you might have heard. Only a minute of added time, so we're nearly there. Most of the game has taken place in the Portsmouth half, though, with Wigan probing away, not creating too much, but certainly edging things. McCulloch. Taylor's clearance does find Silva. He's got no support around him at all, though. He couldn't manage to hold it up. And we're well past the minute that was supposed to be added on. I always say a minimum of a minute, but yeah, that's it. Ref's had a look at his watch. Half that never really quite came to life, but there might be many, many more stories to tell in this one. Dario Silva very, very close for Portsmouth with a good leap and a header over an unguarded net, as it turned out, but Wigan probing away. Kavanagh was very good for them in midfield, but goalless at half-time.
Jim Smith is back at Fratton Park, and we're delighted that he is. We'll get his views when we come back for the second half. It's stalemate at Fratton Park. Jim's got a great line about one of the players, which we'll give you when we come back. Biggest Premiership game of the season, no doubt, tomorrow. Don't you miss it. Manchester United against Chelsea. 3 o'clock we start on Sky Sports 1. And then from 6 o'clock on Sky Sports 3, you can watch both Real Madrid and then Barcelona in action. It's 0-0 here at half-time at Fratton Park in the Barclays Premiership between Portsmouth and Wigan. Wigan second in the table, and their best chance coming from a man who's just returned. Jason Roberts. Jim Smith, former Portsmouth man, is with us. They've played well, Wigan, haven't they? Would they be happy with a draw, do you think?
I wouldn't think they would be. You know, they look at the position in the league and coming down here with Portsmouth's home record, and they would fancy the chances of getting the win. But I think they played a little bit like that myself. I think they played a little bit with, you know, with okay, instead of being a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more quicker on their decisions, and certainly get the ball quicker to the front too.
Would you say it's a night made for Laurent Robert after all that's happened to him?
I think it is, and I think Loire coming on will be. He'll turn it round as well, I think.
Do you think they've missed Loire?
Yeah, because he's a special player, and I mean, I can see, you know, he drives you around the bend at times.
Does he? Why?
Well, he's not the most disciplined of players, but he's a very, very skillful player, and he gets the goals out of nothing, and he can damage any team in the country.
He damaged himself with all that celebration that he does. He decided not to do the old hamstring backflip because he's injured himself before. He said he's not going to do it anymore.
Well, he's getting a bit older, see, you know.
When you look at the second half, what kind of options do you think Wigan have got, or will they just be happy to keep it as it is?
I think Wigan will be happy with, you know, keep it as it is. I would think Paul will ask him to step the pace up a little bit, and I think Portsmouth are going to be more positive. I mean, the boy Vukic is just playing in behind the goal. He's not made any forward runs at all, and he's been walking about a little bit, to be honest.
I have to ask you, Jim, what is the difference that you notice about this Portsmouth side now, apart from personnel, to the one that you and Harry were looking after?
Well, we played basically, I mean, we played a 4-4-2, and you know, like Sir Patrick Berger and Loire on the wings, and Todorov up front, and then, you know, with one Paolo and people like that. We were very positive, especially at home. I mean, our problems were away from home, to be absolutely honest. But at home, we had a great record at home.
Well, there is Loire obviously warming up. It's a pretty chilly night here on Bonfire Night, and we saw Laurent Robert earlier as well. Which I must say that Robert did get a lot of applause from fans when he was warming up. There were 1 or 2 boos. I suppose you can understand it.
Well, obviously, yeah, of course you can. I mean, it's a brave decision to put him on the bench, but he is a good player when he wants to play. And I think in the system, if you look at those 2 lads there on the line to come on in this system, I think they would be perfect.
Well, the Portsmouth chairman is here. The man in charge of Wigan isn't. And if you're watching Dave Whelan in the sunny Barbados, a very good evening, or is it good afternoon to you? Let's see how your team gets on in the second half. They've done you proud this season. Here's Tony Gale and Ian Darke.
Yes, all right for some, isn't it? Watching in a beachside bar in Barbados. And on a night when the nation is looking to the skies, maybe a timely reminder that the first ever Football League game played under floodlights was on this very ground in 1956 when Portsmouth played Newcastle here. They lost it by 2-0. They're due to turn this pitch around 90 degrees under the pitch renovation. 35,000-seater stadium. Henri Camara for Sky Digital viewers will be the subject of player cam at the start of the second half. Interesting to see whether Portsmouth just reorganise a little to give a wee bit more support to Dario Silva, but no changes as yet. Portsmouth in their blue shirts, getting us underway at the start of the second half under the floodlights here and attacking their favourite Fratton end of the ground. A lot of confidence, though, about Wigan. This great run that they've been on has given them plenty of that. Just a question of whether they want to push on and look for the 3 points here. certainly had the better of things in that first half. Paul Jewell, what a great job he's done as the manager. 2 promotions in the last 3 seasons. The club were playing in the 3rd tier when he joined them in 2001. Chimbonda, Linvoy Primus getting it away.
Well, certainly if this game does become stretched in the second half, then you would expect Roberts, if he retains his fitness, although he's been a long time out, and Camera, to get a little bit of space in behind if Portsmouth start to push on. But as yet, there doesn't look like any change to both the systems.
O'Neill, Silva, Deseu cracking in with the challenge. Interesting, with Andy O'Brien still out of the Portsmouth side, Deseu, if he'd stayed around at Fratton Park, would probably be in the Portsmouth side. Now it was because Andy O'Brien and Stefanovic were the first choice pair pre-season that Deseu decided he might be better off going elsewhere. 100,000 was all he cost Wigan. Now then, Bullard. This is Kavanagh, who's looked so composed a presence in the midfield, wanting the ball all the time and quite often getting it. Here's Chimbonda. Looked like a cul-de-sac, but it's fallen nicely for Bullard. His ball down the channel for Camera. Roberts is waiting in the middle. McCulloch is there as well. That had to be one. And the shot by Francis bounces just wide.
Must have got a slight deflection, or there was a save on it. But that was good. Camera getting to the dead ball line. McCulloch getting into that position where he loves. Just getting in the middle, in between his strikers. Doesn't quite get ahead on it. Slight deflection away for a corner, but it didn't look like there was one to me, that's for sure.
No, it didn't. It really didn't. And Portsmouth protested that, but they've got another corner to defend. Damien Francis goes to the near post. Roberts is waiting on the goal line. McCulloch is in there, and Chimbonda has scored for Wigan for the 2nd week running. Unmarked on the back post.
Absolutely incredible. I saw him score his first goal last week, and it's his 2nd one this. He'll want me to come to every game, I think. The delivery was right this time. Good ball from the left-hand side, in swinging corner, but didn't he rise well at the far post? Look, no one marking. He gets a run at the defender, and once he gets a run at the defender who's static, he's got no chance of beating him in the air. Gets up and above him, no one on that post, and there you are, Wigan 1 up in front. Great rise, poor defender. I think it's Priska who was caught static under the ball, and Chimbonda got a run at him and a great header.
More home misery for Portsmouth. They've had a difficult season at what used to be Fortress Fratton for them in their first season in the big league. They do have an unhappy habit of conceding goals at home. Only the 1 clean sheet here this season. That was against Newcastle United, and that was a goal of straw. And Wigan ahead again. What answer can Portsmouth find to that? Vukic looking to find Silva, but he just has no support up there. Can only be a matter of time, surely, before Alain Perrin looks to change the system.
And he's going to have to change it now. And caught out of that corner set piece early in the second half, and I don't think his patience will. Well, I don't think it'll hold. He's going to have to get a couple of his strikers on.
Griffin's ball in. Taylor on the turn on his weaker right foot. Didn't have much power. And John Filan's remarkable record of only conceding 1 goal in the Premiership so far since he's been in goal continues, and it hasn't really been tested too much, in truth, by Portsmouth so far here. Richard Hughes back to Linvoy Primus. Fair to say the natives are a little restless. Wigan in front again. Here's Gary O'Neill. Stefanovic. Taylor. Prisker can only keep it for Bullard in play, and Wigan can counter here. Well, was it a mistake by Brian Prisker defensively for the goal here?
Yeah, you can see he loses him, he gets stuck in between the two. Chimbonda just gets a run and a jump at him, and you can see he's not even aware of him behind him. Doesn't even get off the floor. Could have got a newspaper underneath that leap, that's for sure, but Chimbonda rose very well, and it was a good finish.
Here's O'Neill. Difficult one for Vukic with the delivery. And at the moment, utter frustration for Portsmouth, though they did score 4 and come from behind to win last week at Sunderland, but that was a different kind of game to this one. Salif Diao is just having a drink there. I don't know if he's coming on, but he's a defensive midfield player. Whether he would be part of some reorganisation remains to be seen. No great width, but Dario Silva, and Portsmouth will get a corner.
Well, they'll be hoping they can get back in the game the same way as Wigan have gone in front from a set piece. Can Prisker redeem himself at this corner?
Good noise around the ground. Bounces a Russell. Prisker was one of those going in for it. It came off a Wigan player last and goes for a corner on the other side.
Great pace on the corner, wasn't there? Look at that. Just comes off the back of one of the defenders. I think it was Dezeu. Gets away with a corner.
It's another Pompey corner. Not a good one though. Chimbonda this time with the defensive header away. O'Neill is fouled. Wigan have only let in 1 goal in their last 7 matches, so they'll feel equipped to hold on to this lead all right. O'Neill plays it in again. Bullard with the defensive header. Not really enough depth on the cross from Portsmouth's point of view. And the break's on here with Kavanagh in acres of space. Kavanagh has to go alone, but it was a good break from Wigan.
Well, again, the pass was slightly delayed. It's a great break. Roberts finds Kavanagh. Maybe if he'd have played that straight away to his left, Baines was on, but he had to fire from range as the defender was closing him down. But as you were saying, Wigan can defend leads. Defend deeply, and they are going to be so dangerous on the break with the pace of the strikers up front. Portsmouth have got to be very careful, but I feel, Ian, you can't wait any longer. You have to make the changes for me. You've got to make some changes because it hasn't worked from the first minute for Portsmouth.
It's quite clear that the system being deployed is not working for Portsmouth at the moment. Zayo getting the better of the beleaguered Dario Silva, who's had so much work to do there on his own up front. Now then, Vignal. Vukic, who hasn't been as influential as Portsmouth would have wanted. Jason Roberts with that great pace of his. No sign of the thigh injury that kept him out last week. He's looked bright. Away by Stefanovic. Vignal to O'Neill. Goes past Oncho. Looks for a bit of support. In towards Vukic, who tries to pick up O'Neill's run again, but the pass just had a bit too much weight on it, and Chimbonda was able to break up the attack.
Good covering defending from Chimbonda, wasn't it? Honcho was caught out for a bit of pace in the give and go by Gary O'Neill, but he was quick to get round and cover his central defender.
Off Stefan Oncho, and we'll go for a throw by the looks of it on that side. Well, he's going to have to redesign things, Alain Perrin, and quite quickly too. Joe Jordan having a look over his shoulder. What are we going to do about this then? Flicked on by Silva, nobody waiting in the middle. Baines. And Damien Francis. McCulloch. Now Kavanagh for Wigan, who have looked the more controlled and cohesive unit.
Well, they know how they're playing. They're used to their system and they know what they're doing. They know they've got the two pacey strikers. They know they've got four in midfield. Jimmy Bullard pressing in on the right-hand side and trying to make a central free up at times, and they know how to play. They know their system and they know what they're doing. I look at Pompey and I think this system is great away from home, great to frustrate teams like Sunderland last week, hit them on the break.
Well, that's one for what happened next, isn't it? From Gregory Vignal.
Pass the soap.
De Zeus header away. Lee McCulloch. And foul was by Hughes. Chance from the Portsmouth fans of Luar. They want him back in the side and off the bench. A very noisy reminder to the manager. Whether he can last quite as long as this after his malaria is another thing. Maybe there's only 20 minutes. This is Roberts on the volley. It nearly fell for Chimbonda by accident. Well, he's been the difference so far. Pascal Chimbonda, he wanted to win this header, and he did.
Got up so high, didn't he? But I think the key to it is that one defender's rooted and the other defender, who's turned attacker on this occasion, gets a run and a jump against him, and he's got no chance. Great header, towering header. Oh, the golden boot beckons.
Looks £500,000 pretty well spent. Stoppage time winner last week, and was that goal the winner this week? Hughes with the header. Portsmouth, it has to be said, disappointing after their good display last week at Sunderland.
You know, Ian, I can't remember the two wing-backs in this system, Vignal and Griffin, really getting over the halfway line and hurting Wigan.
Laurent Robert, sorry to cut across you there, Tony, is going to come on here to what is a slightly mixed reception. I think the feeling is that the fans will give him another chance after last week's fiasco up at Sunderland. He's not coming on yet, though. Here is Taylor. Portsmouth getting a few blue shirts forward this time as well, and they'll get a corner, only a corner. And here comes the change. It's Vignal who's going to be taken off, by the way. So a more attacking option now than Robert. Last week he says it was all a misunderstanding, he really was injured, but after he was left out of the team he didn't want to be the substitute, and people are, given his history, have been drawing their own conclusions about that. He's been fined by the club, he's on now. Can he repay them in some way here?
Well, I think it'd be fair to say that he's been misunderstood all his career, Laurent Robert. But really, he has got something that can unlock defences. It doesn't seem to me at the moment that they're going to change the system. It's Matt Taylor who's going to come out to left wing back now, and Laurent Robert is going to go and replace Matt Taylor in field. I'd like to see him up and out wide, getting those crosses in.
Yes, Robert in Taylor's more forward role. Taylor back where Vignal was on the left of the four. Another 40-yarder. Might take that from Matt Taylor.
I think it's going to need something like that because they haven't really created up and around the penalty area, have they, against Wigan? And it's going to need something special at the moment.
Here's Vukic. Nice bout of interpassing from Portsmouth. Where can they take this one? Taylor. And that's too far ahead of Dario Silva. Overhit. Half an hour to go. Just under that.
I think those three at the back have really got to push those wing backs on. Taylor, Griffin on the other side, push them back. So they push Bullard back, and he gets on right on top of his own fullback, Chimbonda. On the other side, try and push McCulloch back onto Baines. But at the moment, the wing backs still are not pushing forward. And that means that at home, Portsmouth are more or less playing five at the back. And that suits Wigan down to the ground.
It's their first visit here, by the way, for 22 years. That was a goalless draw in the old third division. Now then, Taylor. Here's Laurent Robert. Good looking crossing towards Silva, very well won. Oh, and O'Neill misses his volley. Silva. Linvoy Primus. Hughes. Dario Silva again. Again, nothing comes of it for Portsmouth, but that was a little brighter from them.
That was brighter. It's the first time they've got a cross in from the dead ball area. In the end, this fizzles out with Silva as he miscontrols it. Just slips as he tries to get his cross back in the box. But before that, the cross from Robert was from the most important place. That's beyond the 18-yard area towards that dead ball line. But it was a wonderful defending header from Baines. From left back again, got above Silva. He's had a super game, hasn't he, at left back?
Taking Jim Smith's eye as well, you'll have heard at half-time. Jim is with us today in the studio. More from him later on. It's a mid-air clattering job by Ancho on O'Neill, and it'll be a free kick to Portsmouth here. O'Neill in some pain, looks like a head injury too.
He was never quite going to get there, was he, Ancho?
Oof.
And that's a painful one. It looks as if it was on the side of the head, Gary O'Neill, and that's where that really hurts.
And there's blood there for Ancho, who may have to come off under the current guidelines about that kind of thing. Might need a few running repairs. He looks very, very groggy, doesn't he? Gary O'Neill. Don't forget tomorrow, that huge match at Old Trafford. So many storylines there. Manchester United against Chelsea. Sky Sports 1 from 3 o'clock. Well, he could be sitting 6 points behind Chelsea by the end of the night if it carries on like this. Paul Jewell. He says that they're enjoying their success, but they're not basking in it, and I'm sure behind everything he'll be thinking 22 points, 18 more to stay up.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's thinking, and I think he's got his feet firmly on the ground, Paul Jewell. I think he's a very good young manager as well.
Time being taken to patch up Ancho. And he might need to change his shirt as well. Yeah, they're going to give him a new shirt. Whether it'll have his name on, I'm not sure. But this is all taking an eternity, and I think he will have to go off for a moment here. It's going to be a Robert free kick. Well, you read the headlines last weekend. Now he's got a chance to write a different one. It is Robert, and it's into the wall, and it's Robert again. Vukic tries to lay it off. covering's very good in that Wigan defence. The bloodied head of Ancho in the way again for Wigan. Stefanovic. Portsmouth starting the day in 15th place. Got a bit of breathing space with that win last week, but with a pretty horrendous looking run of games coming up. Here's O'Neill, seems to have recovered from the head injury. Dario Silva. O'Neill again. Portsmouth looking to prise open the door. Primus gets it back in there, and once again it all ends without alarm for the side sitting behind Chelsea. Might be the old cry soon in the race for Champions League places: who can catch Wigan?
I think that would be good news for everyone if that happened. I don't think he will, Ian, but if it happened, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Free kick for Dzeu's challenge. Ill-tempered little exchange between him and Dario Silva. Almost a through ball. Chimbonda was in the way. Again, he's having a stormer again, the Wigan right back. Now then, here he is, Lamana Luar. Had a virulent form of malaria. He was hospitalised, only returned to light training some 10-11 days ago. They stepped it up this week, and Luar, who scored twice at Fratton Park this season, comes on to replace Zvonimir Vukic, who hasn't really been able to influence things in the way Portsmouth would have wanted today.
Well, now they've got their two flair players on, Robert and Luar, just operating in and around Silva. And OK, they're not going to be, Luar's not going to be fully fit, but he's worth the risk, I feel.
It's a gamble they have to take, surely, isn't it? Camera did well there. There was a little push by Jason Roberts, well picked up by Mark Clattenburg, who was only about 2-3 yards away from it. Well, Wigan knew that they were starting to be big news when a TV crew from Al Jazeera turned up to film them. It's all happening for them. And somewhere old Dave Whelan's sipping another cocktail in Barbados, watching all of this. Probably thoroughly enjoying it as well. Wigan won to the good here. This is McCulloch, but no way through this time. Kavanagh picking that up off O'Neill. Not really able to develop a proper head of steam, Portsmouth.
Never got going for 1 minute, really. It's seemed a little bit all over the place, a little bit disorganised. So different from last week, where they had a wonderful win against Sunderland, but I have to reiterate, that was away from home, and that system lends itself to that. Still, I think that those three at the back take a little bit more responsibility, push them wing backs further forward, split as Priska is doing here, get the ball out wide to the wider ones of the central defenders, and get Griffin up the park. I'm looking at Griffin now, and he's still right back in a right back position. You don't need that at all. He's got to push on further up the park, keep wide.
Been a little bit short in that wide right area, Portsmouth, since Steve Stone left. One of many departures from the Harry Redknapp era here. Robert's back header, nobody there behind him. Luar is the player now playing furthest forward with Dario Silva going out to the right. Meanwhile, Bullard for Wigan. McCulloch's header in. Camera with a header and an acrobatic save with the fingertips from Ashdown to keep it at 1-0.
Well, for one moment it looked like it was looping in. They keep the ball in the danger area. McCulloch up in the air, flicked on by Francis. Camera gets it. It was always covered by the keeper. Couldn't really get much power in a ball that had no pace on it, could he, Camera? But nonetheless, they keep the ball in the danger area and create another chance.
Here's another corner. They scored from one of these before, this time a punch from Ashdown, not very far, mind you. Still bouncing around dangerously in there. Zeu went down in the box, no appeals for a penalty. Here's a break, Lamana Lualua, he's bound to be a little bit rusty.
Good tackle by Kavanagh, he's had a good afternoon, hasn't he? Spent a lot of his career in the lower divisions, but one of the players who's got that hunger and is relishing the fight in the Premiership. Loves every moment of it, doesn't he? Contested the ball well in there, and when he's got it, he's passed it well as well. And again, you can see another harmless ball from Pompey going through there. They really are running out of ideas.
There's a real togetherness, you feel, about Wigan. Primus to get it away. Portsmouth playing without any real sense of devil or belief. But maybe they're not being allowed to.
I wouldn't say they've been suffocated. I think they've suffocated themselves, Ian, slightly with this cluster of players in midfield, the four in the central area. But very, very difficult for them to get going. Again, another ball going astray up to the striker. Simple stuff.
Griffin again.
That is where Griffin should be receiving the ball, where Silva was receiving the ball wide. Those centre-backs should be pushing him right up the park, Ian, and he should be receiving the ball there, not in those deep positions.
Damien Francis. It's the impressive Baines. Only 20 years of age, the left-back.
I've seen him score one of the most spectacular goals I've ever seen against Ipswich. 35-yard top corner job. Another player in the top flight, relishing every moment of it. They really are keen and hungry players from Wigan. Experienced players who are having another chance in the Premiership in the top flight, and young players who really want to do the business.
Baines, by the way, the first Wigan player to become an England under-21 international as well. He is looking to try to get a crossing. Did that go out of play? Yes, it did. It'll be a goal kick. Robert and Baines with a minor piece of handbags at two paces.
Well, he doesn't really want to be back there, Laurent Robert. I think he realised what he was doing. He was getting into a fight and then thought about it again.
Here's McCulloch. Well, Portsmouth haven't gone 7 games without a home win since Terry Fenwick was the manager here back in 1997. 8 years ago. But that's the way they seem to be heading at the moment. Salif Diao is preparing to come on as well for Portsmouth to make a difference in midfield, he hopes. Silva gets the wrong side of De Zeu. Good turn that was by Dario Silva. Lualua. Silva again. Can he find the right kind of ball in? Now then, Gary O'Neill. It was a splendid block by Oncho. Bit of a chance there though for Pompey. Lualua. Going through his repertoire. Can he be the difference? It's Lualua trying to get to the byline, but no, it's going to be a goal kick. Priska's coming off, Salif Jao will come on. Another reorganisation tactically probably required for Portsmouth here. Well, they might have made a mistake with the ball. They put up 6. I think they meant 16. Priska was about to trot off. He looked a bit bemused. It is Andy Griffin who comes off. He's had a hard time adapting to that role over on that side today, Tony.
I think he has. I mean, I think he could have played in a central 3 in the centre-backs, or he could have played as an orthodox right-back. Right wing-back, though, not for Andy Griffin. He gave it a go. There's no doubt about that, but I don't think he's suited to that position, to be fair to him. And now I think they've gone to an orthodox back 4. And I must say, not before time.
Priska hasn't gone off. He's gone to right back. Now that they've sorted out the electronics, I hope your fireworks display works better. Here's Bullard. For Sky Digital viewers, close up on Lomana Luar in these closing stages here. Portsmouth need him to score an equaliser. But there have not been too many signs of that. Wigan showing why they have the tightest defence in the league at the moment.
They've got the flat back 4 there now, Portsmouth. Primus, Stefanovic in the centre of defence. Hughes with Diao in the middle of the park. Gary O'Neill gone out to the right-hand side. And Laurent Robert out to his, well, where he's at home, out on this left-hand side. But they still have got to pick it up. Still got to pick up the pace. Haven't really give their fans much to shout about to get behind them.
Mind you, it's been one of those tight games, and it's being decided at the moment, and Portsmouth will be disappointed with the way the goal came from a corner and a more or less free header on the back post. Lee McCulloch. Kavanagh was picked up from Cardiff City in March. He's been an important signing, all right. Again, a pass going astray from Portsmouth. Wigan, who lost their first 2 games in the Premiership, and here they are threatening again. Priska to bring it away.
Wigan will get those opportunities. Jason Roberts couldn't pick the pass out there to Jimmy Bullard, but Paul Jewell, Chris Hutchins downstairs, they'll want them to try and kill this game off with a second goal. Pick out that final pass when they do get a bit of room.
Taylor. Again, careless error. Wigan can break, and they've got players to do that too. Look at Chimbonda here. He's got right in behind everybody. He's got Roberts up with him. It's Jason Roberts, and it's 2-0. Classic counter break. Brilliantly done by Wigan Athletic, and Jason Roberts scores against one of his old clubs.
Well, that's great play from Chimbonda. Goal scorer turned goal provider. They robbed Portsmouth in their own half, and they just hurt them from where they came. Super play. They waited for the play. Chimbonda broke from deep and then fed Roberts. You can see they break down here. Chimbonda reads it, passes it inside, continues his run, and there you see Roberts coming back from an offside position, and then he's back onside. Intelligent ball into Roberts, and he finishes well as Ashdown comes out. But that's good. That's running from deep from Chimbonda again. Nice little square pass. Roberts onto it. I thought maybe he had a touch too many there, but it's under the body of Ashdown, and it's 2-0. And they do pick out that final pass that I was talking about.
Wigan's tale of the unexpected continues, or is it unexpected now? Laurent Robert.
The away support singing we're going to win the league there, Ian.
Well, have a bet on it, 750 to 1. That's what some of the bookmakers are still quoting.
Wonderful stuff, isn't it? Absolutely wonderful. As you said, fairy tale stuff, and to have amassed these amount of points so far. Look at those games you're talking about they were going into, the run of next fixtures. A point from any one of those games now is a real bonus. Just a bonus, because they are going fantastically well. And instead of going into those big games with no confidence, having defeats behind them, they go into those games full of confidence, and they can afford to give it a go. Brilliant stuff from Wigan.
Yep, 25 points. It looks like they're heading for that. There's still a bit of football to be played here, but we're now into the last 10 minutes of this. And Portsmouth, who haven't looked much like scoring, we've got to find two from somewhere. Robert. Taylor, whose errant pass, I'm afraid, led to the counter-attack which produced that second goal. And they wanted a free kick there, Portsmouth. It wasn't forthcoming. Alain Perrin was having a little moan at the referee about that. Robert. Phelan, who was clattered into by Silva. Frustration for Portsmouth. Well, Alain Perrin, this is the referee, by the way, who sent him to the stands for some sarcastic clapping at Bolton earlier on in the season.
How the referee didn't see that, with the gloved hands coming out of Chimbonda and dragging that one back. I think he's got a right to have a rant down there, but I do think he's clutching slightly at straws at the moment, because they have been the better side, Wigan. Been the better side all round, more organised, more disciplined. They know exactly what they're doing, and it's worked exactly to plan, hasn't it?
Luar. Portsmouth have the attacking wherewithal to come up with some late pressure even. They really have found goal scoring a problem this season, bar those 4 they scored at Sunderland last week. Take the other games, they haven't scored more than 1 in any other game in the league this season, and that's shown a little bit here. Well, too hard to look at for the Pompey fans, who got used to seeing their team win, and the Wigan supporters are all smiles. The long journey, well worth it. The fantasy goes on. But I mean, 25 points, last couple of seasons it's only taken 33, 34 to stay up.
Yeah, I was trying to work out the other day, it's not impossible to say how many would survive, but I would say 36. You'd be fairly sure of staying up this season. In that case, they're 11 points away from survival.
Well, nobody's ever had this many points after 10 games and gone down in the history of the Premiership, so but they may be starting to think a little bit bigger than that even. McCulloch just forced a little bit wide by Roberts' return ball. 2 goals in the second half here for Wigan Athletic, and they've been worth the lead, no question about it. Here's Robert.
What is also wonderful for Ian is the Championship. Everybody said it's so hard to survive. But Wigan and West Ham are really making a great fist of it this season.
I think Damien Francis is going to be booked for that late challenge on the far side there. Yep, yellow for him.
It was a bit late on Prisky, you could see. I think he's just trying to have a nibble at the ball. In fairness to him, he's not lunging down on the ball, but you pay the price when you don't get there first.
Oncho. Kavanagh's another break on here, possibly. The speedy Camera. Fireworks exploding in the sky outside the ground here, but none on the pitch from the home side. It must be said, Portsmouth have been desperately disappointing. They take nothing away from Wigan Athletic. Camera down to Roberts, who didn't get much of a look in at Fratton Park. He was kept out by Yakubu and Sheringham. That will have been a sweet moment for him, stroking the ball into the net for Wigan's second goal. And here's a booking for Stefanovic.
That's 3 or 4 challenges from Stefanovic now, and I think the referee just had enough. And there's a yellow card. Again, good understanding between the two strikers, one dropping deep to collect the chest down, camera to Roberts, and in the end Stefanovic fouled and goes into the book.
Ref got to 83 minutes without any bookings. 2 since in the closing stages here. Kavanagh. Taylor gets it away. Just can't get out though. Chimbonda, it's a rare poor ball from him. That looked like handball to me by Deseu, and he was actually the last player there, with Luar breaking in behind him. That's an interesting argument, you know.
Yeah, he did misjudge it, you could see. I think he thought Oncho was going to get it, and at the last moment reacted by sticking out his arm and receives the yellow card. You can see probably is the last player. There may be a call for that, but I think that would have been particularly harsh. And the way Baines has been covering, I think he'd have been round there like a shot.
Yeah, it was open to interpretation that the goal-scoring opportunity would have arisen. Yellow it is for Deseu on his return. Robert plays it in there, but no Portsmouth player can get on the end of it again. And here is Roberts, and Camera, who has Olympian speed, nearly got in behind, and it was Robert doing the tracking back.
Better make a note of that one.
But they need something from him at the other end. And we're in the 87th minute now. Priska trying to forage forward. And McCulloch gets back there to do the covering, and really, in all truth, that Wigan defence have had a pretty easy ride.
Well, Deseu and Oncho could have brought a couple of deck chairs out there today, I feel. They've been really good all afternoon. They've been reading the play very easy. You see another substitution being made. Roberts coming off. Matt Jackson, a defender, coming on.
And here's a little bit of something. Matt Jackson comes on to make his first appearance in the Premiership since 1996, when he played for Everton against Manchester City. It's his 150th Wigan appearance, the experienced defender. Silva's header on towards Luar. Luar hasn't quite got that sharpness yet, understandably. Portsmouth will need to get him back to full fitness as quickly as they can, but this is becoming a very long and troublesome run they're having at home, and if you don't win your home games, well, they don't need me to spell it out. Salif Jout. Ryan Taylor is going to get a little run out too, by the look of it, for Wigan Athletic in a moment. He's just being stripped ready for action. He was in the starting lineup last week when there were 1 or 2 availability problems. Taylor down the line. Stefanovic's header. It's strange, this one, Tony, because Portsmouth just haven't looked like a side who won 4-1 away from home last week, have they, at any stage here?
No, not at all. Not at all, and they really haven't got a gallop going. And against Charlton, when we saw them here last time, they really started at a blistering pace. But today, they've never got going from the first minute to the last.
A worrying performance by Portsmouth. Henri Camara comes off, little smile. So got in a bit of a huff, didn't he, earlier on in the season when he was substituted, and I think Paul Jewell made his views pretty clear to the player about that, and all seems sweetness and harmony again now. Last minute of normal time. Introduction of Luar, and Robert's made not a scrap of difference. Priska. We're a week too late for Halloween, but it has been a bit of a horror show from the home side here. Three minutes of added time. It's going to be 8 wins in 9 matches for Wigan Athletic. Extraordinary.
Never looked in any danger, have they, really? I mean, Portsmouth, the home side, haven't created anything. Something at the end here, but no, that's cleared as well. But not one thing. I can remember the silver header over the bar. Filer misjudged the ball, the looped, shall we say, dink in behind the defence, misjudged it. Silver had that, but I can't remember one other thing that they've been troubled with, Wigan, today. Just been a case of good organisation. They haven't really pulled up any trees themselves, haven't had to pull up any trees themselves. They'll be wondering if this Premiership is all about just being organised and hitting teams on the break. But I think it's been absolutely fantastic what they've done this season so far.
Here's Dario Silva, set up for a volley, but rather typified Portsmouth's early evening here. They won't want to remember the 5th of November around here. But Wigan will. Well, who said that there were no unexpected stories in this league? Wigan Athletic have provided the story so far. And they've done it again here today at Fratton Park. Bullard. And they're going to get a free kick as well here.
Just run down the clock for that final minute. Taylor, who's come on right back, or wing back, has come on up front. Matt Jackson has settled in front of the back four, and they're just going to try and kick the ball and play down the clock. And what will be a memorable win for Wigan. Not a great game, but 2-0, and a very comfortable 2-0 at that.
Just Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester United coming out for them, of course. But Portsmouth rather worryingly with Liverpool away next. Chelsea next visitors to Fratton Park. There's the final whistle. Very, very comfortable for Wigan Athletic. No messing about. Pascal Chimbonda with a far post header just after half-time, and then Jason Roberts making absolutely certain. And from Portsmouth, precious little. A worrying and depressing performance from them. They still haven't won at home and have taken 3 points out of 18 at Fratton Park so far. Final scoreline here, Portsmouth 0, Wigan 2.
Thank you very much, Ian. Wigan's 6th Premiership win in a row. They've won 1-0 6 times, and they're now just 6 points behind Chelsea. Well done, Paul Jewell and his team. Who would have thought this? I wonder whether even the most ardent of those Wigan fans thought they'd possibly in this position at the beginning of the season. Ariane Dezeu, what does he think coming back to a place that he graced so heroically? Chimbonda, a goal, his second goal in 2 matches, even though he is still wearing gloves. It's chilly.
It is down on the south coast.
Here is the bottom of the Barclays Premiership. Portsmouth dropping 1 place. They've only scored 3 times at home in 6 matches now. Cause for concern, but look at this. Wigan Athletic, 25 points from their first 11 matches. 5 points clear of Arsenal and Tottenham and Manchester City, and 7 points clear of Manchester United. It's an incredible story. This is what we've got coming up for you on Sky Sports tonight. Football first. The match we've chosen is Arsenal against Sunderland from Highbury, and then you decide your team on Football first from 8:25 tonight, Sky Sports 1. Then it's Spanish football, Villarreal against Valencia, 8:30 on Sky Sports Extra. Then tomorrow it's the match at Old Trafford, Manchester United against Chelsea. If we don't win it, many Manchester United supporters and even players have said, then Chelsea can't be caught. 3 o'clock, Sky Sports 1, and then you can watch Real Madrid and Barcelona, one after the other. 6 o'clock, Sky Sports 3. Jim Smith, a former Mr. Portsmouth himself, a bit disappointed about Portsmouth's behaviour tonight and on the pitch, but it's been a fantastic day for Wigan. And after the break, we will look back at what has been another win for this team. And if you're watching, Mr. Whelan, put another cocktail on the bar.